Audrey.
Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Mentorship and what has it meant in my life. I'm of an age older than many on this screen, and there was no such thing as a formal mentorship program in the work context. It's interesting to consider this subject and what came up for me. It made me reflect at all of the inflection points in my career. I so clearly remember my first really big promotion, which was to director, and it was different from all the other promotions that I had received to that point. If I had been mentored, or if there were other women in positions of authority in my department, I might not have been so surprised at how much campaigning I had to do on my own behalf. For years, I had been receiving exceptional reviews, and I know that I was a large contribution to the group given the tax cost savings that were benefited to the group. So it seemed inevitable to me that I would be promoted in a timely fashion. Silly me. In the interim, we adopted 2 children from Ukraine on 2 separate trips. And my work continued. I continued to work just as hard, and no responsibilities were changed. I want to say, to be perfectly honest, it would have been very disingenuous of me to not start with this story, as this really was the first thing that came to mind when I think of mentorship. And all these years later, I still have residual emotions about this. However, as it turns out, this was a pivotal point for me, taking back my own self-care and a big shift in my focus. It cannot be understated how much I learned on my journey of self-discovery, as opposed to outwardly being focused and engaged in a formal mentorship program. As a partner, mother, daughter, sister, friend, business owner, somewhere along the line, I learned that I needed to receive support from those around me in my community. You have to know that I thought I was Superwoman and that I could do everything on my own, and I tried for a long time. So this was a huge lesson for me in accepting support in my community. I consider myself super fortunate to have long-standing support structures around me in my life. I have a mastermind group, which we affectionately are called Partners in Creation, and the short for that is PIC. We've been together for 25 years, so that gives you a clue of how old I might be. So this group consists of 6 folks. Over the years, there have been some changes in the members, but by and large, for the last 20 years, the 6 of us have been together. And we talk, traditionally we had talked once a month, and as COVID came around, we decided to need some additional support, so we would talk a couple of times a month. And one was just a general catch-up meeting. But on the standard monthly meeting, which is the way that we instituted, we have a very structured format, and we start with our intention, which presences us to who we are for each other and what we all are individually committed to in our lives, being the best possible version of ourselves. Then we start with a round robin where everyone gets 8 to 9 minutes to update what we're up to, what we're committed to for the following month, who we'll be, and most importantly, what support we need. For many years prior to having kids, somebody used to keep notes, and it's interesting to see that the same themes continue to run through our lives. For me, I think it's super helpful that all the members in my mastermind group, we all did a lot of the same personal development classes. So we have similar mindset and we have a similar language, which I would say would attribute to the long-term success of this group. I now have what one would consider a very different view of what it means to be mentored. I believe mentoring can come from just doing your life if your eye is on getting to the next steps in your life. I've always had my eye on the ball, or an eagle eye, looking for those people around me that really aspire to activities and things that I want to choose to incorporate in my own way. And so I informally used that in my own mentoring process. I have, as many of you know, I have many different interests, and as a typical display of my monthly activities, they include beyond my family and friend gatherings, which I'm hopeful to get back to at some point. I'm taking traditional Chinese medicine classes. I'm in a book club that I've been in for as long as my kids have been around, so 20 years. Bead classes. I have my mastermind group. I have a breath and meditation group. I have a women's sacred circle. And at some point, I'm desperately looking to get back to the gym, which is also a big community that I desperately miss. The beauty of all of this for me is that the input exposes me to a range of ages, perspective, and personal and professional achievement in the people around me. As it turns out, the best and most sage advice often comes from the quiet and profoundly wise man that I am fortunate to call my husband. For every time that in a career sense I doubted my abilities due to the time it was taking to get to the next level in my career, I was reminded of who I really am, which is so much more than just an employee. I am truly committed to be the best possible version of myself, and this underlying belief has put me in situations that at times I feel intimidated, and therein lies the opportunity for personal growth. The more authentic me that I am in my body and in this world, I find that this gives permission to those around me to follow suit in their own lives. Who knew when thinking about mentoring that this would be the windy path that I would share? I will end by sharing this quote that is behind me from Marianne Williamson, and it's one of my favorite quotes. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Thanks for being part of the path to my best possible version of myself. Back to you, Melissa.